Oh, hello there. This is Leburn98. Let's look at some PS4 games. So, with the much belated overview of my PS4 collection, I said I was going to do this probably right after I said I was done my Blu-ray collection, which I actually did. I did do PS4 games, but I had some issues with the audio sync, and you can actually, if you look really closely, you can actually see that those problems in the Blu-ray collection. I actually had to splice pieces of video and audio together to resync every, say, 5 minutes or so of the video. It was really a pain. Now I'm using OBS to record this, and let's get to it. So the first game in the PS4 collection is actually a Batman game. We have Batman Arkham Knight, and I believe they announced that the first two Arkham games, Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, will be getting the remastered treatment. I don't know why they're gonna not put Origins in that collection. I guess because Rocksteady doesn't consider it part of the canon or whatever. But I don't know. But anyway, this game overall I liked it. It wasn't as good as the original. I still find Arkham Asylum was the best of all of them, of all the four games. This one, however, it's decent. It looks beautiful. I'll give it that. It really, really, really looks like the first true next gen game. I can't remember too many around this time that really wowed me visually, anyway, as Arkham Knight did. But the main complaint a lot of people had, and to some extent I agree, is the Batmobile in this one. It relies a little too heavily on the Batmobile. I realized, they spent all this time integrating it into the game, therefore they wanted to get a bit of a return on their investment, so to speak, and they made a good chunk of the level design, the gameplay itself, revolving around that Batmobile, which I think hindered the game in certain aspects, specifically with a lot of the boss battles. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I still put it up there in my top 10. I can't remember exactly what it was last year. But yeah, really good game. All right, next up we have a Battlefield game. This is Battlefield 4. This game was really, really, really broken on release. It was what kind of started this whole trend of broken games on release. And this one was a mess, both with the campaign as well as online. Both modes were broken to some extent. Thankfully, however, they've really put a ton of work into this game, and they went above and beyond what I think most people would have expected from Dice with the after release support that they gave to this game. And it really makes me excited for Battlefield 1, which will be coming out very, very shortly, I believe in October, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, and also they released I think a couple of free map packs for the trouble, for the broken release, and they continue to add new content, free of course, to this game. And there's quite a bit of people still playing this today, and I occasionally jump onto it. I really enjoy the gameplay of this one. Then we have Battlefield Hardline. This is not a Battlefield game developed by Dice. This is actually Visceral, who are the ones that developed the Dead Space games. And I enjoyed the single player of this game, which is funny because with Battlefield 4, the weakest link of that game was the campaign, where this one I found the campaign was actually the main thing I enjoyed from this game. Basically, in this game, you play as cops, taking down thugs, and what I liked about the game is that you can actually go around, sneak around, and arrest people and stuff like that. Try to do it as non-lethally as possible. Of course, if shit does hit the fan, you then can pull out all the stops and shoot the bad guys and whatnot. The online, on the other hand, that's where I think it fell through. Uh, it is Battlefield. It still plays like Battlefield, and I think that's part of the problem with this game. The campaign kind of promised something a little different, which it delivered on, but the online, on the other hand, it's not bad. If you wanted more Battlefield-like gameplay, you could do much worse. But considering how many people still play Battlefield 4, maybe just want to go back to that. Next up, we have one of my game of the years. We have Bloodborne. Uh, I'm very, very surprised. I would say that, considering I was never really into the whole Souls like games. Uh, Mainly because I don't have a ton of time to really invest into one game, and when a game like this, which is very difficult, uh, it really requires your attention and your dedication to the game to master your skill and whatnot. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of didn't really give many of the Souls games a chance. But I saw this thing really, really cheap on Amazon. I think it was around $20, and it was not too long after release. And I thought, you know what? Worst case scenario, I'll have a game in the collection, and best case scenario, I would actually have a game I liked. Thankfully, I ended up liking this one quite a bit. I don't know what it was about this game. I don't know if they made it easier. Maybe you guys can comment down below if that was the case. But I thought the gameplay, I really enjoyed the give and take that this game gives you. It doesn't. It's difficult, but never seems unfair. It doesn't seem cheap, and I really really enjoyed that. Very very surprised that I would actually enjoy this kind of game. All right, so we have a couple of Call of Duty games. We have Advanced Warfare, and by the way, I also have Call of Duty Ghosts on PlayStation 3, which we will get to. But I also have it digitally for the PS4 through the trade-in $10 upgrade plan that they had around the PS4's launch. But yeah, so we have Advanced Warfare, and we have, as you already seen it, we have Black Ops 3. So first of all, with Advanced Warfare, I really enjoyed the single player on this one. I was very surprised how much I would really be into it. My main problem with the Call of Duty games was that they're kind of going in this futuristic setting, and my issue isn't so much the setting necessarily. It was just the fact that I always considered Call of Duty a heightened, realistic game, in the sense like it's the Hollywood portrayal of warfare, from World War II, modern combat and whatnot. So the fact that these guys were then taking this in a futuristic setting was kind of off-putting, to be honest with you, and kind of took me out of the fact that this was supposed to be a Call of Duty game in that futuristic like setting. But with that being said, the gameplay is very fast paced, maybe a little too fast paced for some. I know, as someone who doesn't have a ton of time to play hours upon hours upon hours online on one specific game, I definitely seen myself lagging behind the competition, but I still enjoyed it, my time with it, and overall, I'm really excited to see what they would kind of pull through with the next one with these guys. Sledgehammer, which, by the way, I think some of the developers worked on the Dead Space games, which kind of does show as far as like your HUD and whatnot in this game, which is very simplistic and whatnot. And of course, we have Black Ops 3, and you guys know how much I like the original Black Ops. Black Ops 2 was alright, but it didn't hook me like I thought it would have. As you guys know, I tend to like Treyarch's games quite a bit. Right back to the original, which was offensive when they were at the time called Grey Matter Studios. They end up forming Treyarch, or changing their name to Treyarch, and then, well, now you guys know. But this game, I thought, however, was kind of a mix between Advanced Warfare and the original Black Ops. And it wasn't as fast paced as Advanced Warfare, which, again, if you really love that from the last game, you may not like it in the Black Ops 3. But I thought it was a nice balance for for people like myself who don't really have a ton of time to play one specific game for hours and upon hours. But overall, I really liked it. The one thing I am not a big fan of, to be honest with you, was the campaign. I actually haven't finished it yet, so maybe it blows your socks off much later in the game. I'm probably about 3/4 of the way through. Obviously, I will finish it at some point, but yeah, it didn't really grab me, which is surprising because I thought the first Black Ops was phenomenal as far as a Call of Duty game was concerned with the campaign. It was leaps and bounds better than everything else that was in Call of Duty up until that point, as far as story was concerned. Um, and even Black Ops 2, I really enjoyed the story in that one. So this one was kind of let down on. I think part of it was because they tried to really force the co-op aspect into this game, and I think that kind of hurt it a little bit. Next up, we have the limited edition of The Crew. I think actually all of them are considered limited edition. The Crew was very promising uh, at the beginning, especially during its reveal. And to be fair, like a lot of what they promised was in this game, but I think what they tell you and what you think the game will be are usually two completely different things. And when they said, like, you know, you can travel across the United States, the gamer, us, we tend to take that literally when they mean more of like a truncated version of the United States. And, but even still, like, I thought the gameplay was all right. It was very average. Uh, and the graphics were decent enough. I mean, they weren't great, but again, considering the scale of the game, I thought it was serviceable, and I liked the whole aspect of it being online, and you can hook up with your buddies and do basically an actual cross country road trip. I thought that was all cool, but there is a bit of a story, but I don't really know what kind of what the whole thing was about. I didn't honestly didn't play it all that much apart from driving around with friends, which I again was cool, but apart from that, it didn't really hook me like I thought maybe it would have. Next up, this is a bit of a controversial one. We have Destiny. Some people absolutely love this and play this game today, and other people basically gave it up within like the first week. I know critics originally didn't like this game. I think Taken King, the expansion for this game, got a much better review, and perhaps was what a lot of what was promised was put into that expansion. But overall, as far as the original game is concerned, you guys seen that we did do a co-op let's play, and overall we did enjoy it. It was a bit lackluster in the story department, especially the ending. The ending was very surprising to me, as you will see in the let's play if you watch that. And but overall, the gameplay is very very solid. It is a Bungie game. You should expect really good, fine-tuned, first person shooter controls, and it does do that quite well. And the online aspect I thought was really cool. It is kind of MMO like, but it's definitely not an MMO though in scale. And but I thought, like, going back to the Citadel, I think is what it was called. I can't remember. It's been a while. The main hub of the game. Going back to that, and trading in your stuff, meeting new people who are also trading in their stuff, and sometimes doing cool things like dancing and whatnot. I thought that was pretty neat. And overall, I did enjoy it. We will, Buck and myself, will be playing the Taken King as well as the expansions very, very soon, hopefully. And but we also have everything's planned. But we will get back to that at some point because we do like the gameplay, and that's ultimately, when it comes to a game, that's what you want the most, is the gameplay, and it definitely delivers in that department. All right, next up we have a remaster here, and I think this may be the first one. This is Dishonored Definitive Edition. I never actually owned this on any platform up until now. So considering this was only $30 through the E3 sale when it was announced, I thought I would pick it up. It includes all of the DLC, and I overall I actually really enjoyed it. Graphically, it's interesting. I like the art style. It kind of has a bit of a Bioshock like vibe to it. I do like the gameplay mechanics, the sneaking around, the stealth in this one. I thought was really well done, and yeah, I mean overall, just a phenomenal game. This was a big surprise. This is Doom. Uh, okay, I can't say it's a massive surprise, only because we have a game which we will see later on, which was Wolfenstein, done by Machine Games, a Bethesda or id game. They did a phenomenal job on that one, which was also a big surprise. But they hit it out of the park again with Doom. It was really cool to see how they were able to take the old school and mix it in with the new school and kind of create this amazing shooter experience. And there's very little story involved. There is some layers that you can mix and match here to formulate a story, I guess, if you really were inclined to do so. But just the gameplay by itself is what really makes this game shine, and it really does shine. I would definitely skip the online though, which is kind of upsetting. But then again, wasn't really a big fan of the original Doom's multiplayer. It was actually Quake that kind of got me into the whole multiplayer scene with that. But overall, Doom, definitely pick it up if you just want some mindless shooting, and if that sounds interesting to you, which maybe it will, definitely pick it up. It's really great stress reliever. Speaking about another stress reliever, or perhaps inducing stress, we have Dying Light. Again, we did do a let's play on this one, and obviously it's a zombie game, and I love zombies, as you can tell by the name, Special Zombie Unit. Uh, this is also by Techland, which did the Dead Island games, and I really like those. And but it was nice to see them take that kind of core gameplay from that, which was kind of done in almost like goofy like style, and kind of apply it to a more serious in tone game of this one. And the main draw to this one was actually the whole parkour aspect, basically mashing Assassin's Creed with a zombie first person shooter, and this is what you get. And they did a phenomenal job with it. Like, I've played parkour in first person shooter games before, like for instance Mirror's Edge, but this blows it away as far as like the control. It controls great. I never once had a problem with the game, with the gameplay itself. Uh, it just handles great, and the story is decent enough. It actually, I was very surprised at how into the story I was, and the gameplay it's just top notch. And by the way, the cool thing about this, and the reason why it's called Dying Light, is that there's some creatures, some more stronger zombies or mutants or whatever that come out only at night, and that's when it's really crazy, and the fear, the intensity really ratchets up during that. And you'll see that a few instances in our Let's Play where it just becomes incredibly chaotic, and it really makes you not want to go out at night. But yeah, I really recommend this game. It was one of my favorite games, or like the top 10 of last year, and highly recommend it. So this was arguably one of the most disappointing games I've had to endure for a long time. This is Evolve. This was done by Turtle Rock Studios, who were the developers behind one of my favorite games, Left 4 Dead. And so when I heard they were doing a new co-op online survival-like game, I was stoked. I was, I just didn't have words. How stoked I was. So when they announced that, when they showed the Evolve gameplay, I said, okay, it's not quite like Left 4 Dead, where you have four people versus four infected plus zombies. But I said, okay, we'll do the 4v1 thing and see how that plays out. And to be fair, like when I played like the first couple of matches, it was cool. But then you realize that's all there is, and that's ultimately the main issue I have with it. Is it's very repetitive. And no, to be fair, Left 4 Dead was repetitive in some aspects, but I thought by having it 4v4 in a few different environments, different things can happen throughout. what may be a checkpoint at one or a choke point at one particular time in the match, you may breeze by and the next match, and it was all these encounters. You even in familiar areas, you don't know how it's going to kind of play out. Where I found a lot of these games, one or two things happened. Either you as the hunters went in and you basically captured the or killed the monster right away. You trapped them, put the dome over him or whatever, and you trapped him and you killed him right away. Or you went doing this back and forth, almost like if you had Benny Hill music, uh, it would suit that mode fairly perfectly. But going back and forth and eventually duking it out with the monster, and then sometimes the monster kill you, whatever. But overall, I mean, I played maybe 3 hours of the game, and then I never touched it again. Now, the good news, I suppose, is that this game is now free to play. So if you actually wanted to try it out and see perhaps if I'm actually wrong, then definitely give it a try. And I mean, what do you have to lose but a few hours? And at the very least, for those few hours, you may have, as I did originally, some enjoyment out of it. Next up, we have Far Cry Limited Edition. Again, another limited edition that's simply a day one release. And this game wasn't as good as the villain in this game wasn't as good as the villain in the third game, whose name escapes me at the moment. Is it Vargas? I can't remember. But anyways, he was really, really cool in that one. It really kind of sucked you into that game. And this game kind of plays on the same gameplay as you would expect from a Far Cry game, and does a few new things with it, but mostly it kind of plays it safe. And overall, I really enjoyed it. I do like the co-op aspect, especially going around hunting and whatnot with your friends. I thought that was cool. I like how even if a friend doesn't have a copy of the game, you can invite them into your game and do some of the co-op-y stuff. I thought that was kind of neat of a neat feature that your friend doesn't have to actually own the game, and plus it's brilliant marketing, because if you get your friend in there and he really enjoys it and you're like, okay, well, I gotta go to work tomorrow, so I can't play anymore, then maybe he'll go out and buy the game. So I as far as a marketing play, I thought it was a good one. But overall, really enjoyed the game. I thought it was really good. Uh, Now this game, I actually haven't played it yet, so I can only talk about what I've heard about the game. But what kind of intrigued me about this game, and I will probably play this probably next week, and I have some time next weekend to play this, uh, is they take the familiar Far Cry gameplay and put it in like 10,000 BC like time, and so you don't have any guns, you don't have anything like that. You basically have rocks, stones, you know, bow and arrows, things like that. And I thought that was pretty neat of a concept, and that's primarily why I picked it up. And plus, I got it for fairly cheap. I think I got it for like $30, $40, so not too shabby there. Grand Theft Auto 5. This is obviously the remastered of the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 and whatnot game. Um, I really enjoyed the game on the PS3. I have actually completed this game on PS4. I will get to that at some point. I mainly got it to play online with friends. Graphically, they really improved it. The detail in this game is phenomenal, and it was one of my favorite games of 2013. I think it's when it was released, the original. And this game, there's just so much content in this game that, and even though I played the original or the PS3 version to completion, uh, I like going back to this every so often and kind of doing a few more missions and driving around, just blowing shit up. Just overall, really cool game.